We are creating a ton of short, sweet videos on the Singer Elite ME457. And if you have a Singer sewing machine that's similar to this with some dials, in this video we're going to quickly go over how to select stitches and how to make sure you have the right length and width and needle position selected. So first off, this is our stitch selection dial, and in each of the stops for those stitch groupings, you see that one is black, one is blue, and one is red. Here is how you know what you're doing. If you're looking for the stitch that is black, you can come up here and you're looking at the numbers that are also in black. If you're wanting the blue stitch, you're going to switch the stitch length first all the way to the blue setting, so where it says S1, those are stretch stitches 1 and stretch stitches 2 are all in the red. So just by quickly going across, now I'd be stitching all the red stitches. Now, some of them are straight, and then some of them have a jump side to side. So if they have kind of a zigzag look to them, you will need to add some width. Now, I do love that the Singer machines are all labeled. So length, of course, width is here. So if you have it on 0, that means that you're going to get nothing. You're just going to get a straight stitch looking stitch. So if you want anything that has a little zigzag, you'll have control all the way up to 6 millimeters wide. It's actually pretty big, and you can have anything in between. So once we start stitching, do note that you can change the width and you can change the length while you're sewing. So you can easily fine tune it to what you're seeing and how the fabric is to look. So let's start off by bringing the width to 0. And we'll switch it over. What is a normal stitch length? I like to say start at 2.5, so somewhere between 2 and 3, and we're just on a straight stitch. As I'm sewing though, I can go ahead and adjust the length so I can make it longer. That's going to go by quickly. And I can make it shorter, and I can get it really, really close. Longer stitches would be great if your fabric is thick or fluffy. So like if you're working with fleece or minky, lengthen that stitch length closer to 3 so the stitches don't look so close together. If they're hard to take out, make sure you lengthen that stitch length and then they'll look more normal. Fabrics that are lighter weight or sheer fabrics, I am going to use a shorter stitch length, somewhere 2 or 1.5, depending on the look that I'm after. So what about a zigzag? Now, before I turn this dial, the one thing I will do is advise that you always have your needle up and out of the fabric. So if the needle had stopped and it is in the fabric, before you turn this, turn that hand wheel towards you, bring it up, and then just note that, because watch, if you watch the needle, it kind of sometimes will shift to the side, depending on where I am within the setting, and you don't want that to kind of be pulled on your fabric. So now with a zigzag, I can adjust the width, and you'll start to see it swing back and forth all the way wide, and now I could even make the length even shorter, like I can make it really close together. And here, I'll show you the difference. Here is what you need to know. When you're working with a mechanical machine, the needle is going to stop at any position. It could be in the fabric, it could be halfway up, it could be all the way up, or anywhere in between. Before you lift up the presser foot, I want you to come over here, turn the hand wheel with the arrow, so it always reminds you to turn it towards you, and bring the take-up lever to the highest position. That means that the stitch you have just made is finished. When you lift up that presser foot, it is very easy to pull out. There's only 2 threads. Have you ever lifted up the presser foot and there's like 3 threads and it's hard to pull out? It's just because it's still kind of trying to finish the stitch. But if you had brought this to the highest position, it finishes the stitch and makes it perfect for when you start to sew again. It means your stitch is ready right at the beginning. So see how I made my stitch width wider and then I shortened it and it started to get closer together. So as I stitch, so if I wanted any of these other stitches, so if I want, say, the red stitch here, I'm going to go ahead and turn to my red stretch, and let's go ahead and do it at the widest setting. That's going to be at 6 millimeters wide. These stitches, you're right, you don't have adjustment of a length. That's because they are a stitch that goes back and forth, so that's been pre-set for you. This one's actually going to be a decorative stitch, but it could also be a stretch stitch. So here, I'll just show you what it looks like. When I've stopped, it actually stopped and I can see the take-up lever, so I can lift it up without needing to do anything to it. And that's how easy it is to get a different stitch. Now there's also needle positions. So I'm going to go back to a straight stitch and let's just do a 2.5 millimeter length, and then go ahead and put it back to 0. Now at 0, that means the needle is in the center. So that's always where you want it to be when you're just doing a straight stitch. Back to this dial, it says needle position. So you have kind of a picture where the needle shows that it's all the way to the left, in the center, or all the way to the right. And so there's a time and place as you're stitching where sometimes you want to be closer to the edge, or you want to be following a certain line, but your foot needs to be on the fabric. So having the foot on the fabric means that you need to move it to the left or to the right. Sometimes when I'm working with a zipper foot, I need it to be a little closer or a little further apart. So that is an option as well. You will also have the ability that if this is in the center, your stitch width will give you all the movement from center needle position all the way to the far left. So you actually have all the increments between center and left by using your stitch width. Now that's only when you're on a straight stitch, but that is a thing. So when you want it in the center, make sure it's at 0, but just note that it can be slightly to the side exactly where you want it to be. Now, this is tension. I'm going to just tell you, leave it at 4 when you're working with the same threads top and bottom. So that means your machine is balanced when you have the same thickness in your needle as you do downstairs loaded in your bobbin. Tension is not something you really need to adjust. I adjust tension when I'm working with 2 different weights of thread. Maybe I have a really heavy decorative thread, but my bobbin is lighter weight. I might need to balance it out so like I can adjust it so it's more to a similar level. Even though the heavier one is trying to pull that lighter one up to the top, I could adjust it so it's not as tight. So bigger number is tighter, smaller number is looser. And if you don't know which way to go and you do need to actually adjust the tension, you will find that one way makes it worse and one way makes it better. But tension is not what I use when I have things that go wrong. Leave this right here if you're using the same thread top and bottom. We'll go over more of that as we go. And we're back to a straight stitch, 2.5 millimeter stitch length and center needle position. And I'm ready to stitch. Super easy, any of majority of your fabrics. And to go reverse, hold that down, back up a few stitches, let go when you want to go forward, and that will lock it in. So I hope you'll check out all of our videos. We have a link in the description below where you can start from the beginning, where we talk about needle threaders, we talk about cleaning the machine, and all the different types of stitches and feet that come with this machine and how to use it. So if this has been helpful for you, remember right here, click on that subscribe button. That helps me make sure I'm creating more content and working with more machines in the future. I hope this has helped, and have fun sewing.